And welcome back to the Dean Obeidallah Show. We are live here Friday, August 4th, third hour. It's time for What Just Happened. It was really an interesting week. A lot of things happened. We had three great returning champions. Lizz Winstead's back, comedian, co-creator of The Daily Show, creator of Abortion Access Front, podcast Feminist Buzzkill Live. So not live, just Buzzkills. And she's touring nonstop. I see the emails. You're all over the country. We'll talk about it more later. Liz, welcome back.
Thanks.
Also, Andrea Jones-Rooy is back, social scientist specializing in complexity, which still baffles us, stand-up comic, circus artist, and she has a PhD. Welcome, doctor. How are you?
Thank you so much, Esquire. It's great to be here.
And, of course, the Mad King himself, Ben Gleib, has returned. He was the host and head writer of the Emmy-nominated show Idiot Test. He's been on the Today Show and the Tonight Show, not on the same day, but he's done them both. And his special Mad King is on YouTube right now.
And former guest on Feminist Buzzkill podcast, and some say the best guest.
Ooh, I was also a guest, and some say the second best guest.
Dean, you just left. You're the last one standing.
I'm happy that Judah Friedlander was on last week, and he said he's the best guest of everything. So, I mean, it doesn't matter what podcast you're on. Judah, who's still committed to the world championship, which is just remarkable.
You can't compete with it.
Yeah. I thought it was a phase years ago. Like, he's doing it now 20 years. Like, he's the world champ. I love it. So, let's talk about new charges versus Donald Trump. So, this time we got it, right? This is it. Let's, Andrea, since you are a PhD us in complexity. How complex is this? What's going on?
You know, it's very complex. And I have to say, Dean, I'm so excited to be on this show talking with you this week for this indictment, because I feel like you are the person I know who's talked most about holding Donald Trump accountable. So it's frankly, you know, it's actually not even that complex. Legally, maybe, but he did some stuff that's pretty darn bad. And I'm glad to finally see something come from it. So I think this is actually the simplest indictment there is.
Just so people don't know, I've been posting on whatever Twitter is now, but more important on Threads, counting out since January 6th for almost 2 years every day how long it's been that Trump has not been charged, noting that any other first world nation he would have been charged by now. So I finally was able to stop doing that. And I wrote articles, and I've got on TV and on my show and talk about it. So that's what Andrew's getting at. Liz, what about you? Are we finally on the path to accountability, or is it too late? Did they do this too late?
I mean, anybody who's saying it's too late, I think just doesn't understand legal. It's like, I'm not a lawyer, but like, to be able to hold somebody down on charges, calm down. America has lost its absolute way when it comes to process. And I always say, we need to start like baking more pies and cooking more food so that people can go back to understanding things that are important and joyful and stuff. It takes time to get to where you need. You know, you can throw a crappy pie in a microwave and it tastes kind of fine, but that's bad for America. You take that analogy and it's like, calm down. You don't understand the system, how it works. So you wanted this to stick? Calm down so it can stick.
So then it took 2 years and 210 days of pies to charge Donald Trump. If we're going to continue with the pie analogy, like, what would be your favorite pie, and what would you eat for 2 years and 210 days while you're waiting for Donald Trump to be indicted?
You know what? Use scotch for this analogy. Yeah. Good scotch ages for 14 friggin' years.
All right, so we just moved the goalpost.
That is a much better analogy, because I was going to say people have become so stupid in this country. They would take your pie analogy and say, it's been more than 4 hours. He's clearly innocent. He's not been convicted guilty after a good, slow half-day bake. Scotch is the move. But maybe
Scotch is the move.
Too long. Scotch is 12 years for a good scotch. I don't know what ages in 2 years, but 2.5 years.
Cheese. You can get a good aged Gouda in 2 years.
So Trader Joe's wine.
We're going to cheese now, right? So
I can go anywhere with you on this food.
Cheese. But the point is, what's your reaction, Ben? He's finally charged with the crime, the key crime.
Look, I love that Liz referred to it as a joyful moment, because I've been on an intense diet. I started with a fast. I've lost 10 pounds in the last 3.5 weeks. I would eat a pie a day for every day that this man is in jail. Happily, I will go blueberry pie, blackberry pie. I will not do any pie with orange pieces in it, because I just want to see him be uneaten and just live as long as possible, withering away in prison. Orange peel pie I will be passing on. This is an incredible.
What about a small file so that he eats it and doesn't know about it like that, as opposed to, they put a file in the pie.
He'll escape. No,
There's
I don't. Better things to put into a pie.
I'm going to make file pie. I'll send you
File
one.
pie.
Dean. File pie.
So Ben, your take is that it's pie time. That's what you're saying?
Look, he's got 3 indictments with 70 plus 78 charges, and Georgia still coming very likely. And I put it at about a 60% chance that any one of those ends up with him not in jail, probably, sadly, because he could be found innocent, even though he's obviously very guilty. And even if he's found guilty, there's some odds you have to calculate of, we don't want to put the country through this because we don't want to put the country through the law and order he demanded so much. We don't want to put the country through actual consequences. But if we can get over that insane stupidity, you go 60% times 60% 4 times, it's still only a 23% chance he gets off without jail time, which I put at 77% likelihood of jail time, which is pretty good odds. I'm taking that bet. It is about time. It's incredibly obvious. It will still not convince millions of Trump supporters, but they will have to be supporting a former president in prison. And they will continue down the road of being traitors to this country. Anyone who still supports him is a traitor. Only some of them are just too dumb to maybe deserve jail time for it themselves. But anyone with any sort of brain, any sort of critical thinking left that is still supporting him, because I don't care if he committed crimes. I don't care if he tried to overturn our government. I vote for him because of the economy. Jail time for you.
That sounds good. I was doing a pie graph based on those percentages there, so it looked kind of interesting. It was 10% almond, a little bit of apples, my favorite. So, Andrea, take it will you go, if I go to visit Trump in prison, would you accompany me and bring pies?
Yes, I will bring pies. We can put whipped cream. I thought you were going to say, Ben, you wouldn't eat any cream pies because I feel like the cream is just the garbage that he's spewing all the time. But
I'm like,
so I think we should sit with fruit based, like a stone fruit based pie, for this occasion. But we'll do graham cracker crust. We'll do whatever it takes.
I know a very different definition of cream pie, so I reserve comment. I
already regret saying it.
I'm lactose intolerant, so we're going to stick with that.
I also want to say that in my dream fantasy, which no one asked about, but I'm offering, is I would also like his cell to be a replicated design of the dressing room he assaulted E. Jean Carroll in, just so that he has to sit in there and have that be, because I just don't want it to go unsaid. He's also has that and also 22 charges of sexual assault on some level. That go along with, so we're at 100. We're at 100 if you want to add all the garbage and that in, and I just I don't want that to go away. I don't want it to just be like, he didn't overthrow the government. You know what? He also is attacking people's bodies.
I love that E. Jean Carroll this week filed not to have to even go through another trial for defamation of character that he did to her, and just said, yeah, it's already been proven in the trial where he was just found guilty of sexual assault. So let's just go to summary judgment on it and straight up give me a monetary payday, which she incredibly deserves. And that seems like a very reasonable argument. So let's get her paid.
He's fighting a good fight for this country. Yeah.
My idea for a cell is that he's in a cell that's on a truck and it drives around and we can all see him publicly and yell at him. Maybe a dunking booth involved, something along those lines. And raise money for victims of January 6th, the police officers and their families, stuff like that. But
so it's like the Pope Mobile of hate?
Exactly, the Pope Mobile. But it's like his head is not protected, like his body is, so you can throw things
right
at
that would be amazing. Sort of like those old-timey, when women used to go to the gym in the 1930s and they'd be in that heat machine and just the head pop was out,
but
if that was clear and it was just his head and he also had to poop in there, so you just saw all of it.
Oh my god,
you've thought it through to a different level. Really,
no, look, sometimes I just lay in bed and think no,
but that was really practical. You went through the whole thing. It wasn't like my little dream fever dream that I have. Like, and then there has to be pooping in there. There might be a break for refreshments periodically because we don't have to die until we take him around the whole country. I said on MSNBC on Friday night that not only has to go to jail, he has to die in prison as a warning to anyone, Democrat or Republican. You can't do this. And Breitbart wrote an article about how bad I was. Like, I'm the bad guy. I'm the bad guy for saying I'm not saying he should be killed. I didn't say he should be killed in the shower. Right. I said he should die of natural causes. His last day should be in a prison cell. Because there could be a Democratic demagogue one day. We just don't know. If you don't punish this guy, what's it to stop 20 years from now? Some Democrat thinking they're doing the right thing and they overturn the election. He has to go to jail and he has to die in prison.
Are you talking about Joe Biden? Because he's already doing that, Dean. I don't know if you've read and heard that Hunter Biden's laptop is literally the most toxic place on earth. And all of these people just want to run his OnlyFans page and it's super bizarre.
That's President Hunter Biden to you. I don't know why you're using his formal term. He's President Hunter Biden. Yeah. Joe Biden is the friend of President Biden.
That's right.
There needs to be something said, though, about Hunter Biden. Yes, sure. Hunter Biden is a dirtbag, but it again proves just the broken brain of at least 33% of this country that thinks Hunter Biden is president. I mean, it's the most insane false equivalency. I was watching, for some reason, Punishing My Brain Gutfeld last night.
Oh God. No. Why? Are you okay?
Yeah, I know. I'm not okay. I wasn't able to fall asleep until 4:30 in the morning after that. My brain was just...
you could just masturbate. Like, there's always that. Like, whenever you're like, I have to watch Gutfield, is there anything else I can do? Just always put up a Post-it note that says,
great idea.
Masturbate instead. If you could just put that up on your TV, I would help you greatly. I'm your new shrink.
That's what they were doing.
You should write Liz suggests.
The picture of Jeffrey Toobin.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, exactly. Let me just keep my hands up right now just so it's clear. But they literally on this show were talking yet again, not a word about Trump's indictment and for literally trying to overthrow the government and take away people's right to vote. And they literally kept saying, and the Hunter Biden laptop. I mean, is this the most corrupt family in the world? God. When have they not been the most corrupt family? And it's like one son that has problems, one crack addict son does not the whole family, a crime family make. It's just made up. And the false equivalency that they say that is equivalent and therefore only talk about that. So it's way worse than an actively treasonous president is insane. So Dean, when you say, oh, he should die in prison, you are being generous because that would just be the result of an old man being sentenced to a very long prison term.
Or not even that long.
All Trump followers that the Constitution they love so much that they believe you cannot alter one word of has a punishment for treason of death. That's the biggest punishment for treason. The man is clearly treasonous. You do the math. I'm not going to finish the sentence for some reason, but you do the damn math.
I wrote an article about that for my Substack. It's .com, that this is treason. And I gave a legal definition, but viscerally, let's be blunt. The idea you take an oath to this nation and then you use the apparatus of the government you're supposed to protect against us to overturn the election. That is treason. And then he gave aid and comfort to the traitors by not just speaking in favor of the January 6th terrorists. He actually was involved in fundraisers for them with this Patriot group. He made a video for them. He's pretty much a part of them. This, if you just replace 9/11 and do saying the same things about Al-Qaeda, then you would be giving aid and comfort. In fact, there's one person charged since World War II with treason under U.S. law. It was an American-born guy, Adam Gadan. What he did, his only acts that got him treason, he appeared in 7 or 8 Al-Qaeda videos. He went there, no violence, but appeared in them, said, I'm on Al-Qaeda. He encouraged Americans to join Al-Qaeda. He was charged with treason. Trump has done far more because their thing was, the DOJ said, he's trying to win the hearts and minds of Americans. Donald Trump aimed for the hearts and minds and radicalized people like an ISIS recruiter. So I agree with you, Ben. It is treason. I know why he wasn't charged with it officially. It's treason as we know it. Common sense definition.
100%. That is the real definition. It's giving aid and comfort to our enemies. Nothing in the world gives more aid and comfort to our enemies than having our country unravel because a former president claims that he is still president and won the election. That is the absolute manna from heaven for every enemy of this country. I mean, our credit rating was just downgraded specifically for that reason too, because of political infighting. And that's the most friendly way possible to phrase an actual president is tearing down the fabric of our country. And sorry to bring up Fox News and Gutfeld again, but the way they just blatantly make excuses that change facts for him. Last night, the big wrestler guy on that show that was a heavyweight champion, always has his belt with him, literally all of a sudden says, but it's so bad that Trump said that he might have lost the election. That's obviously not true. Every day he still says he did lose the election. He's not theorizing. He's saying he lost it. He's saying the election was fraudulent. And so go riot. And so go do this. And even along with that list that you shared, Dean, he has a pop song on the charts with the traitors, with the Jan 6 people. I mean, he's in bed all the way.
I'm with you. I'm chatting with Lizz Winstead, Andrea Jones-Rooy, and the head writer for Gutfeld, Ben Gleib. So, Liz, what do you make the magistrate? The federal magistrate who ran the arraignment yesterday did not call Trump President Trump. She called him Mr. Trump. And I was so happy about that. You only refer to someone by their former title. It's not current, former title, out of sign of respect. Hasn't Trump lost that? I hate when the anchors call him President Trump. There's no need for that bullshit. What do you think, Liz?
Well, I mean, love him or hate him, like he was President Trump. I'm not going to deny.
He's not president today. So
but that's like, but I'm not going to buck hundreds of years
Donald Trump in front of Liz.
No, I love Donald Trump. No, but I mean, it's just like anybody, like who was president is called president again. And I mean, you can hate Trump all you want, but that's like how he has a lot. He was he was elected by orcs and he served the first time he did win and he won and then he was president. So like, love him or hate him, like he was president. And I think it's important to tell people that and to remind, instead of acting like he wasn't president, I think we have to remind people every day that there are people in this nation that elected this person president. Sure. And by saying he wasn't or taking that away is trying to deny just being pissed off that but like, I don't want people to forget. I don't want people to ever forget Donald Trump was elected because we have work to do as advocates to get people off their asses who were like, oh, I should have voted, but I didn't, or I hated Hillary more, whatever. Like, no, he was president. It's a point of privilege to say he's not my president. Yes, he is, bitch, because you live in a nation that elected him. Right. So I feel different about that.
Okay. That, by the way, folks, that was AI Lizz Winstead. That's not the real one. Actually, we replaced her with someone who's taking a position against me. That's it. How dare you? So, Andrea, what about the fact that the magistrate said right to Trump's face, don't commit any more crimes, which I love because it's conclusory. It's not like, don't commit any more alleged crimes. She's like, no more crimes, or you're going in.
It's amazing.
I love that she said it that way. And they're saying like, they usually say it like that. No, she said it like, you committed a crime. This is bullshit. All right. Right. You'd be in right now if I had my way.
Well, and so Liz, I totally agree with you that we can't forget he was our president. And even hearing you say that makes me queasy, but he was, and that's true. But I like that they called him Mr. Trump in court, because when you're in court, you're subject to the justice system, just like any other American. And so he's Mr. Trump, or maybe call him Donnie. I don't care what you call him. But I love the fact that they were like, stop committing crimes. Like, that's what you would say to someone who's like on their third petty theft crime, right? You're like, come on, just stop. You got your life ahead of you. Get your act together. And to just have to say something so basic to someone who should know better, but absolutely does not, is, like, just keep treating him like a child, because he's acting like one, and he's acted like one this whole time. I'm thrilled to see him as belittled as possible. I can't wait on a personal petty level. I'm hoping that the Georgia arraignment comes with actually forcing him to get a mugshot. I heard that, or I read that might be in the cards. I need it to happen just for my own. Masturbate to that,
problem
King
with
Ben.
Maybe
don't. That's gross. I'm sorry.
I would never masturbate again. I'd be out of the game. I would retire on the bottom. But the only reason I think why you can't give him a mugshot is, sadly, it's the same reason they smartly didn't photograph bin Laden before they threw him in the ocean. It would be the most popular shirt. People would be wearing that by the millions.
Yeah.
It would be out there. It's the only reason why not. I would love to see it, but it would be.
You're right.
they would all masturbate to that photo. They would literally,
and they would sell money for it. They would sell
They
it.
would sell-
And there's also the AI images already out there. You're right.
also true. But as to, I do love him being disrespected in court because, like it or not, he is going to be. Everyone knows he's president because he just truths it out every 10 seconds. I was the greatest president you ever had in your life. Some say better than Lincoln. There's no people. There's not even someone joking that says I'm better than Lincoln because I'm a delusional asshole. But anyway, I like to say it. So that's that reality. But the dude is going to jail. And if you need other derogatory names to call him, I'd like to share some of my favorites.
Sure.
You wouldn't just call him Donnie. I would call him Coward the Duck.
Ooh.
Well, that's good.
The Orange Menace.
Mm.
Or my favorite, Toupee Fiasco.
I like that. Liz, can any of the other Republicans in the field catch him? I don't mean in the polls. I mean in the number of felonies. He has 78. Like, I was trying to advocate for Ron DeSantis to go knock over a liquor store. Maybe someone go rob a bank. Like, you got to catch up because you get a whole day of press.
I'd take a parking ticket at this point.
So Liz, what do you think? Should some of the others just actually start committing crimes just to get some media attention?
I mean, maybe they should just all stand on Fifth Avenue and start shooting just to see who actually can get away with it. Like, I mean, and because no. And I think that even criming from that bottom seller wouldn't do anything. No one even pays attention. The cops would be like, who, Nikki, who? Do we need to arrest that person? What'd they do? I don't even, where are they? So no, I mean, you can't, I just simply do not understand any of this platform. I don't understand why people run and then don't try to differentiate themselves from this person, other than lightly saying, I haven't crimed, but I would still perpetuate all of the misogyny and xenophobia and our planet's still going to burn. You know, it's like, what's the difference between that and the Lincoln Project? Very little to me.
And
I always want to bring them up just to shit on them whenever I can.
Very nice. I'll tell Rick Wilson.
I didn't even see that coming. Well done.
No, I didn't. Last before we go to break, Andrea, Joe Biden is still president, but you wouldn't know that if you watch corporate media. Like, it's like, I mean, you hear about Hunter, you really do.
Right.
Hunter, it's literally not, it's Trump.
Right.
And then a Hunter Biden story. And then Joe Biden was on his bicycle and a reporter yelled at him. That's the spectrum, but it's night and a pie graph using that. It'd be like all Trump all the time.
Yeah.
It's like 2016 because the articles today are Trump's emotional state. He was irked. He was mad today. Like, angry.
He had dinner with this person. He had dinner with that person. He played golf.
To that 26, Les Moonves from CBS infamously said, he's not good for America, but he's good for CBS. And he literally, the money keeps rolling in. Keep it going, Donald. That's the full quote.
Yes.
Andrea, how does Joe Biden become president again?
I mean, does he need to commit some crimes? Maybe just, or affiliate himself with his son even a tiny bit in some way to get that back in the news? I don't know. I do not know, and I feel like we're all guilty. As much as I hate the right and Fox and Gutfeld and all of that for their outrage culture and just looking for the next thing to be angry about, I think we're guilty of it as well on this side in a lot of cases, and we just like to scream and yell about the stuff he's doing. To be fair, we have more to be outraged about because these are actual criminal activities that are going on and historic cases and things that are really important for democracy, but I honestly, maybe the news can, on our side or generally, can try to be a little bit more boring and talk about what actually is happening. I don't know. Or Biden can fall off a bicycle. People seem to like it when he falls. So that could
or Biden can come out and say, listen, the cocaine we had at the White House was mine, folks. That was my cocaine.
That would help.
As my friend Jessica Burbank, I think, is the one who tweeted this out. She said, listen, do you want him to be sleepy or not? Let him have the cocaine. Let him have the cocaine. DeSantis is committing crimes, by the way, every time. He's just committing his little passive-aggressive hate crimes. Every time somebody in Florida is considered to be given any sort of right and they're a minority, he immediately runs and says, let's see if we can re-legalize slavery. I mean,
right.
But it's political prosecution to go after a guy that's committed 72 crimes and it's the worst political instinct possible to not just hop on the fact that the dude's going to jail. Instead, defending him shows just how instinctively dumb and racist and homophobic and horrible DeSantis is. He's probably at this point aiming for a vice presidential nomination, which he might be the most powerful VP since Cheney, because he'll be the only one that's a free man during the term.
He's like trying to be vice chancellor to the German chancellor that's going to be elected president on the right if they had their way. Let's take a break, come back and talk about some real news. Ohio voters are going to the polls next week, and it can affect an issue that Liz has been working on for decades, and that is reproductive freedom, but it's in a different way. It's sort of it's going to affect something on the ballot in the fall, but next week could have an impact on that and more. So let's take a break, come back with more of the Dean Obeidallah Show. Programming note, Greg Gutfeld's going to join us next week. No, I'm kidding. He's not joining us ever. So let's take a break. Be right back with more of what just happened right after this. Ready? Come right back. And welcome back, Dean Obeidallah Show. We're still live Friday, August 4th, continuing our conversation with Lizz Winstead, Andrea Jones-Rooy, and Ben Gleib. So Liz, in a story that gets some press and then they got overshadowed with the indictments, Ohio voters are going to make a choice next week if they're going to raise the threshold to 60% to make changes to their constitution. But that's intertwined with reproductive freedom, an issue you've been working on. Can you share a little bit about what's on the ballot in November in Ohio and why the Republicans want to do this now in August?
Yeah, they're trying to change up about the any kind of ballot initiative would have to get 60%. So technically a filibuster. They also voted a few years back to make sure that there was never anything in the month of August put on a ballot, and then switched up their own laws and their own rules so that they could do that. What's on the ballot in November is that the state of Ohio overwhelmingly delivered signatures to get on the ballot, a ballot initiative that would solidify access to abortion in the state of Ohio. They have about 58% that they have seen in polls support of this, which doesn't make the 60% threshold if they pass this thing on August. So we'll see what happens. But it's just should be noted also that Florida and several other states have this shitty thing already in place, and Florida has a ballot initiative going right now that's probably going to get onto their ballot in 2024. Florida was one vote shy of having it not be 60%, but 67% of the vote would have to have voted. That didn't pass because it was so egregious, but they have it there and other states. And so as we watch the will of the people take it, like these are some activist groups, but also just really concerned citizens who are saying, screw it, this is what we know to do. And to have politicians doubling down so profoundly, like, we do not care about the will of the people at all. And to try to quelch that is really dangerous territory that we're wandering into.
And by the way, Jim Jordan, this is not a joke. He did a big mailer and newsletter, and it's probably in an ad as well, saying out-of-state liberals want to dictate policy in Ohio, so make sure you vote for this 60% threshold. The only people that can vote are people in Ohio.
Yes.
Like, everything is like out of state, and it's laughable. But it almost goes to Ben's point about like the GOP base.
Yeah.
I don't think that, look, some might not be educated, some are educated and they're still dumb, but it's more about they want to believe what they want to believe. They're not going to let facts stand in the way. So if they like something, like, that's it. I don't really care. It's not like you can't, I don't know if you've discussed it with some Trumpers. They call the show sometimes. There's no fact I can say that can change their mind. It's impossible to reach them. I mean, it's impossible.
Well, and they're not even hearing the facts, right? It's like that 37% or so, like, unmoving Trump base that will not move. They don't even hear, as you said, on Gutfeld, they're not even hearing, and this is the comedy show, they're not even hearing about these sorts of criminal charges and things like that. They're just hearing about Hunter Biden. And to Liz's point, the Republican Party knows exactly that they're losing the base. So of course they're moving the goalpost from 50% majority to 60%, because that's exactly the 37 plus or minus percentage that they have left in the country. They're literally realizing that they're the minority and they're trying to change the rules.
Ben, I mean, next is going to be just white Christian male landowners can vote. Just go back to the origins of the country, and they could actually make that argument with a straight face. We want to go back to what the founders did. Get the white male Christian landowner. That's the only one guaranteed to vote. What do you think, Ben? Are we on that
I think
track?
I should probably throw old on there too. Old white male Christian landowners are still allowed to have abortions. Even they're still allowed to okay abortions when it only serves their purposes. I'm just so tired of the largest group in history of unfuckable people deciding what happens when people reproduce. I think it's an incredible move. Listen, this is an incredibly sad place we are in the country, and this sounds dark, but I have a way to make abortion rights fully legal again in this country. It's very dark, but this would for sure work with the Republican base. Is you propose legislation that abortions are still legal if the fetus is female. They would love it. They would be very conflicted. They don't want to give rights to females when they're born, when they're alive. Why would they want any female in the fetus to have any rights? They don't. They would be. And then the way you get every fetus covered is you just tell these idiots that don't understand anything about the world is that all male fetuses are actually trans women. And then you get all abortion legalized again. Their heads will spin. They don't know what they're for, what they're against. And now you've loopholed abortion rights back in this country. It's a strange way to go, but it might be our only hope.
I don't know who would they sexually assault then? How would they find this is the flaw in the argument? Who would they actually harm?
Only Lindsey Graham would just be assaulted over and over again.
And Andrea,
I like this plan.
As a social scientist,
yes,
a PhD with complexity.
That's right.
You know, the idea they call the Trump-based cults. To me, cults tend to be, from what I've read, I'm not an expert, but that the threat a lot of times is internal. Like they might do something to the Kool-Aid or like David Koresh. This is not. The threat is external. So to me, it's kind of like misnomer. More authoritarian movement's the right term. Fascist movement, that's the right term, because they go out people on the outside. Cult to me is more insular, and that's not what this movement's about.
No, I think that's right. I think a cult is also, I'm not in a cult. I don't know, but I feel like a cult is something you opt into, and maybe you're born into it, or maybe you're convinced it's not a cult. But generally speaking, you're like, I'm in the cult and I'm special and I'm chosen and I know that I'm in this thing and the rest of the world is out there and it's scary. Whereas this group sees themselves as the center of the universe and everyone else is like an external threat. If anything, they think of themselves as the norm and the rest of us are cults, the cult of the left or whatever, even though we're the majority in this country. I think they absolutely think that they are all that exists and the only voice of reason left, which is hilarious because there literally is no reason and there's willful ignorance on all parts.
Liz, have you ever accidentally opted into a cult? Has there ever been like you check the box and you're like, oh my God, I didn't know I'm actually in a cult now.
I'm running one right now.
You are?
Called Abortion Access Front. Yeah. We're all in a cult.
Yeah.
So you're in a cult?
Oh, please come on board. You know, we're just out here in these streets killing the babies, just doing it.
What flavor Kool-Aid, or is it all pie based?
It's not, there's no Kool-Aid. It's what flavor abortion pill is the right question. What flavor? We have Cool Ranch.
Oh, that's
good.
We
have a lemon verbena. Oh. And then we have a lavender rosemary for those who are into it. And a Neapolitan. I forgot to mention
a classic.
Ben and Andrew, you're in the cult. You've been on the podcast, so this is all about trying to get me to join the cult. Like this whole show, I thought I was inviting you, but in fact, you were inviting me.
That's right.
And now it's to get in the cult.
This is your intervention.
I've done live stand-up for the Feminist Buzzkill events, which basically is just me evangelizing on stage live. We're doing live road shows now. We are evangelizing the truth, and please give to God, but actually kind of the opposite. Look, I don't know how, at least the God that they portray as with the God's rules. I'm not an enormous fan of the Bible as far as being one of my top books, so I might be misquoting this, but I saw a meme that was pretty incredible. I believe there's something in the Bible about like one day the devil will appear and his followers will mark their foreheads with his mark. And then it was a picture of just thousands of MAGA idiots wearing on their foreheads MAGA hats. And it's just perfect. I mean, he's the devil. Like Trump, literally, he is red colored. He is an orangish hued, devilish looking man. It is the cult. Hard to compete, even that with Lizz Winstead's cult of personality. She's always got that.
Can we send at the next Trump rally? Can we send Kool-Aid in mass, or is that inappropriate? Like if we just send like a bunch of Kool-Aid, nothing poisoned or anything, just Kool-Aid. Go like, why don't you guys just drink this? Do the show everyone. To me, the cult thing is so. It's almost like. it's not as bad as it is because it's all
Right.
insular. It's much
diminishes
worse.
it.
The
But
threats
I
outside
would
us-
I would attend a MAGA rally dressed as the Kool-Aid Man just to see what's
Oh.
going on. I think that could be the move. And you just write MAGA on it and it just looks like you're part of it. That's
MAGA flavored Kool-Aid.
Yes,
That's
and
right.
then just have somebody standing next to you with a megaphone saying, "Is Trump going to jail?" And you go, "Oh yeah."
That's great. Ben Gleib doing a spot on
Thank you.
Kool-Aid Man. So let's talk about something lighter here. And we want to get to the WGA writer's strike because every week I try to touch on that for at least a few minutes. In fact, Judah last week was on. He's been going out and protesting, all the time on the line there. But first, Paul Reubens died. And I'm just curious if you guys were fans of his comedy because after he died, a lot of people showed that he was on 30 Rock. Obviously, I know Pee Wee Herman and some other stuff that he was in. But a lot of people were like, well, he was like a comedic influence to them. And I was like, I wasn't aware of that. So I'm sincere about that. I mean, Ben, did you like Paul Reubens? Were you a fan of his comedy work or was he not really on your radar?
No, very much. I still have to do my tribute post to him on Instagram. I did it in my stories. I mean, he really lit up for me the possibility of silliness and weirdness being something that works. And he did it both so beautifully for adults and for kids. I mean, Pee-wee's Big Adventure was one of my favorite movies growing up. When I visited the Alamo, I literally asked, "Is there a basement? I would love to see the basement of the Alamo." And then did Pee-wee's Playhouse, which as a kid that just never got into most of the Saturday morning cartoons, all of a sudden this weird world would pop on TV and it was this sweet and wholesome yet hilarious and subversive and strange and kind of weird and kind of odd comedy show. And it just created this fun house that showed me that you can just use ultimate imagination to create a fun world of your own brain exploding onto a show, and that breaks every norm of what a show should be. He was a brilliant man in that way, and you sometimes forget. I always forget to list him in the influences of where my comedic brain was formed, but I remembered it very clearly when I started following him on Instagram, and I started being reminded of how much I loved what he did, and he will really be missed because what a funny man.
Liz with a counterpoint? No, I'm kidding. What did he have any influence on you comedically? Was he on your comedic radar?
I mean, he was, and I think all comics look for this in their lives. He wasn't an influence for me because my comedy is super specific, but he was a go-to person that I could laugh my ass off with, like a Kevin Meaney. Like there's millions of people who I just thoroughly loved because I just love that he allowed weirdos to have a home and a place. And I also love that everything that he did was low tech, if you will, in the sense of it was just like even the goofy things that were like his magical stuff were like big and two-dimensional. It was really, he was really hilarious. And I really appreciated, I just appreciated that. And Pee-wee's Christmas special is like one of the greatest things that like I watch every year religiously.
Really?
Yes, when he sings Feliz Navidad, it's so funny. Like it's so hilarious. I highly recommend.
That's very. I mean, the Pee Wee Herman character was interesting reading after he passed that. He was in the Groundlings in LA, developed it in college, and then it took on a life of its own. He was just doing a show in LA, like the old time idea that where you're a performer and you do something and you're sort of air quotes discovered, but people come out and see you and it gets buzzed. He did it. That was the old school way of doing it. I don't know how today people get famous. I don't know if it's online or whatever. I don't have to.
Physical mail. They send letters.
Mailing
an incredibly popular show on Sirius satellite radio is one of the ways.
This is the stepping stone. And by the way, if you're a weirdo, you're always welcome here. So we got by the way, Andrea, did he have any did you like him growing up? I mean, I just watched the tequila thing, the famous clip from Pee-wee's Big Adventure was recently on, and I'm like, wow, that was really fun.
So I feel like I was raised on a mountainside because I was aware of Pee Wee Herman and I could have put together the words adventure with him somewhere, but I didn't really watch him at all. And when he died, I thought, oh my God, I thought he died 10 years ago, but I think that was Ernest who I was thinking of. And so I feel very bad. The guy who played Ernest goes to jail, that guy.
Is he dead?
I don't know. I thought maybe he's the one who died. I didn't even look into it. So I feel just terrible. He seems like a really nice guy. Since he's died, I've read a lot about him and his groundlings and the character, and everything you all have just said has made me want to go watch it. And I feel like a bad comedian not being aware of it, but I remember being aware of it when I was little, and not really even knowing that he was acting. I'm a horrible person and I'm a bad comedian.
All right, Andrea Jones-Rooy finally admits it after numerous years of being on the show. Chatting with Andrea Jones-Rooy, Lizz Winstead, Ben Gleib. So I don't know if there's a pattern or not. And you guys are out there doing comedy a lot, especially Ben and Liz. But Cardi B got a drink thrown at her, and then the articles brought it out quickly to and there's been recently a rash, and there's like 3 events, but there's still something. I mean, for Drake to get hit by a cell phone this month, it's just weird. People pay to see that someone threw a phone at him, which they have to know could blind you. I mean, no joke. I'm not like being a mom, like it really could.
Also, so now you don't have your phone anymore.
Right. You're like, and how'd you lose your phone? It's a great story for how'd you lose your phone. Like, how'd you lose your phone? I hit Drake in the face. That's the story, but it's horrible to do it. Harry Styles got hit with an object in the face. So I don't know if it's an uptick. I really can't tell. All I know is Adele recently started her concert saying, don't throw anything at me. And for a comedian, that would be kind of funny, but I don't think she was trying to be funny about it. But, I mean, Liz, I know you have issues with the horrible people on the right threatening and stuff like that. But have you seen anything different in the live shows?
I mean, I've had experiences where people, not lately, but where people heckled me and I had to wait till the audience left and have the club take me out, take me home and make sure I got home okay. Depending on if we're doing an overt show for Abortion Access Front, there've been people outside. They're too cheap normally to buy tickets. It's one of the reasons we sometimes will charge a little bit more for tickets, because we just don't want to have those people in there, not to mention they're armed and terrifying. And also when you have abortion doctors at your show, you don't want these people there. They have to wear bulletproof vests to shows. This is what happens. So I have not been attacked recently, but I'm also just avoiding comedy clubs and trying to create my own reality as best I can by doing small theaters and by doing other ways to prohibit that. I don't know that I would feel comfortable doing 5 nights in a comedy club that is just a broad-based comedy club, because I don't know, I just don't need it. I don't need it.
I hear what you're saying. Ben, what about you? Is anything, I know you do online and in-person events. So the online ones, people could heckle, it's different, but in person, anything you've seen, even not directed at you, at other comedians, or has it been normal?
Yes. Firstly, online virtual shows are more dangerous than you think. I almost died during one 2.5 weeks ago through a freak accident. I was wearing a fake mustache in the show that I do, Gleib Off the Top, which is my homage really closest to Pee Wee Herman. It's this silly world that I created where I play all these characters, and I was wearing a physical fake mustache, and it was a cheap novelty mustache, and a piece of felt, a huge chunk of it came off, and I inhaled it, and it closed my airway, and I couldn't breathe for over a minute in front of a virtual audience.
I'm sorry to laugh. That's insane.
Virtual shows are more dangerous than you might realize, but in person, people behave very badly. The moment that Will Smith slapped Chris Rock, I knew this was very bad for entertainers. And that he was empowering people to act that way, because when leaders act that way, when the people that are supposed to be looked up to in these field in any field act that way, it gives permission. That's also why Trump is so dangerous, is that he gives permission for these crimes to everybody on a smaller level. I have not thankfully been attacked on stage except by 2 other comics once many years ago, but they were supposedly being funny. Thanks a lot, Nick Swartzen and Brett Ernst. But I have not been attacked, but I have had my life threatened. I did have a Trump supporter say to me before all of this that I better be careful with jokes like that, or I'm going to get a bullet in the back of the head.
Yeah, that's a normal response to the joke.
Right.
Very normal. People really get comedy. They really get me. And it's a sad place in this country when Lizz Winstead, one of our great comedians, one of our great comedic minds, has to worry about not only abortion access for everybody else, but access to her abortion access comedy shows is really messed up. And so I blame Will Smith entirely, and I blame the right wing along with it. And
And
you
Trump.
gotta hope
Got
at
to.
least when Drake was hit in the face with that cell phone, it was during "You used to call me on my cell phone." You hope it was right then. So
That
at
would
least
make
that would
right.
be funny timing.
All right. Andrew, last thing in the last minute, because then I want you guys to plug whatever you want. Anything from a societal point of view about what's going on if this continues as a pattern?
I mean, one of the things that I'm thinking about is the role of social media in all of this, right? Which is that you look at TikTok clips and Instagram reels and everything, and like comedians around me, everyone, you know, you blow up by doing stuff online, and you post a lot of crowd work clips because you don't have a lot of material that you're willing to put out there. And then a lot of it is crowd works, and the audience says something funny, or the audience says something really rude, or the audience throws a beer at Ariel, or whatever it is that's going on. I think that's emboldening audiences to think, oh, heckling is like how I can be part of the show, and I can now go viral by participating in the show. So I think apart from political stuff, the dynamics that I'm seeing of people showing up at comedy clubs for like, I'm in low profile shows, right? That no one knows that any of the comics on the show, but they think they can just be rowdy in a way that I did not used to see.
That's interesting because now I think about it, so many comics post their crowd interaction.
Yep.
And so people go like, oh, I'm supposed to interact with the comedian.
Yep.
More, even if it's not heckling.
And I get a lot more of people afterwards who've been completely obnoxious during, I host a lot of shows and they're just completely obnoxious and I have to like shut them up, or like, you can talk to me, but when the comics are doing their thing, da, 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 da. And afterwards they're like, you're welcome. We made the show better. And there always has been that, but I do think it's getting worse.
You're welcome. Or, I was just trying to help you is one of the
thanks. Yeah.
people we all know. So Ben, where can people, we'll go with Liz. Liz, then we'll go to Ben and Andrea. Liz, where can people find out more about your shows? I know Ben does some of them, but as you're out there.
You've done them too. Why are you acting like you have
but
not?
you sound like I did it more
You act
recently.
like you're some outsider who's never been invited to parties. You did my very first one. You did like I can't with you. I can't. People can find me on all the social medias at Lizz Winstead. I spell my name with 2 Z's. At Abortion Front is the nonprofit. Tomorrow's my birthday, so if you want to make a donation for my birthday, please do, because we just lost a major funder who said that they didn't enjoy the way that we were so angry.
Wow.
So that's what happens when
Let's
white
make a
people
donation.
don't understand.
Thing. I'm going to make a donation. Today's my sister's birthday. Today's Obama's birthday. And Liz is tomorrow.
Obama's 1 day older than me. So there's that Abortion Access Front, aafront.org, the Feminist Buzzkills podcast, wherever you listen to your pods.
Yeah, and Ben, what about you, my friend?
I'm one of the lead anchors of the Young Turks. You can see me there all the time. I have my own video series I do for them under the Rebel HQ banner, 2 videos a week. And this Saturday, aka tomorrow, I am doing my virtual show that I do once a month, Gleib Off the Top, that Pee Wee Herman-esque really weird fun house where you can join my mad town of mad ones all around the world. And my special guest this month is Ricki Lake, the talk show icon herself. You can get a ticket at bengleib.com or nowherecomedy.com. That's my virtual club. You'll be physically in the room with us. We're going to beam you into the room in my studio. I will see and hear you. It's a fully interactive show. You can throw stuff at me virtually if you'd like. No problem at all. Go to bengleib, GLEIB.com right now and get a very reasonably priced ticket to hang with me and Ricki Lake.
Get a ticket for Ben Gleib. And Andrea Jones-Rooy, what about you?
I have nothing nearly as interesting going on or important as these other two, but you can find me on performing comedy around New York City, mostly at the Grizzly Pear Comedy Club, Midtown and Downtown, and on the Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, blah, blah, blah. Not Twitter, I guess, whatever it is. X. I haven't even logged. I'm not. So anyway, it's at Jones-Rooy with 2 O's. And my birthday is August 18th. And so for my birthday, please donate to Liz's organization. That's what I want.
That's great. It's birthdays around, everyone. Well, thank you guys so much. You guys were great. We'll take a break, come back with more of the show after this.